Hey everyone, I'm Andre Jimenez. I use he, him pronouns. I am a senior studying law and policy here at the University of Washington, Tacoma. And last year I was named the Truman Scholar for 2021 in the state of Washington.
What has been most meaningful about the Truman Scholar experience so far?
Well, I think the Truman Leadership Week was a very, very amazing experience, even though it was virtual. I think, especially as a first generation student, not having higher ed experience to draw on from my family or a lot of my friends, being able to talk with people who are on very similar paths that were equally as driven and ambitious and cared about a lot of the same issues that I did, I think was really vital in kind of helping me reframe where I fit into the world, what lane I wanted to occupy. A lot of the Truman Scholars care about criminal justice reform or want to become lawyers. Um, and one phrase that the Truman Foundation uses during Truman Scholar Leadership Week, and it kind of followed me since, is this concept of constructive confusion, in that we as ambitious and driven students want to have a clear path. We want to have a very linear path of I'm going to finish A, then I'm going to start B graduate school, and I'll get C career. And oftentimes it doesn't look like that. And if it does, we often miss opportunities that we would have been able to get if we took a less linear path. And so the Truman Foundation is really into exploring the different fields, exploring the ways that those systems are fed into each other. And so they're the ones that really got me thinking about the criminal justice system. And if you want to meaningfully reform it, one way to do that is to meaningfully reduce the amount of people who enter into that system through other methods. Even in this virtual environment, we've found ways, all 60 of us, to stay in contact regularly. We all have a group chat that we contribute to regularly, sometimes too much. But I think also what's undersold by the foundation is the strength of the community that you're being inducted into.
Can you tell us about the issues that you care deeply about?
It has changed through the Truman application process and through their programming this summer. I originally came back to school because I wanted to help reform the criminal justice system. I was working at a nonprofit and I saw people who were being churned through the criminal justice system in ways that were not for their benefit, and they were being dragged through a system that wasn't designed to help them. So I originally came back to school to get a law degree. And so majoring in law and policy, the beauty of the UWT program on policy is that it syncs law and policy and shows you where those intersections are, and helps you realize that you really need both sides to affect social change. And so going through the program, going through the Truman application process and their programming, I've realized that my skill set is far more upstream, realizing that there are so many systems that, if designed properly, can help reduce interaction with the criminal justice system. And those systems could be anything from education to housing, the economy, the jobs that we offer, the wages that we pay. And so I think that my focus has turned a little bit more upstream, but still with the focus of meaningfully reforming the criminal justice system.
What was the most enjoyable or valuable part of the application process? What was the most difficult?
It was really difficult until I started creating milestones for myself and accountability with the application, because it is such a large application. It asks you really deep, reflective questions, and it also includes a pretty intense policy brief. Not in that it's long, but in that it's short. It's very restrictive on the character limits that you have. And so it really forces you to make every word meaningful. And I worked with a MPA student from the Evans School up in the University of Washington, and we met every Friday. And That was really beneficial. We met for the 4 Fridays before it was due. And that was really beneficial because it created accountability for me. I had milestones each week. I knew Thursday night I had to sit up and finish my latest draft of the policy brief so that she could read it in the morning and we could talk about it in the afternoon.
Did you ever have doubts about this being the right opportunity for you? And if so, how did you overcome those doubts?
To backtrack, I think, looking at their website, looking at the type of scholars that they had awarded in the past, and specifically looking at the UW Scholar from 2020, that was where a lot of my hesitation came from because I didn't feel like I had formal leadership experience. But in kind of diving deeper into those profiles and looking at some of the issues and causes that scholars were concerned about, and looking at the ways that they had taken leadership that was atypical, that didn't look like leading an organization, that didn't look like leading an RSO or having some student leadership resume line. That's where I kind of got the confidence to just try and see if I could apply and see if the skills that I had and the experience that I had was what Truman was looking for.
What have you learned about yourself in the process of applying for the Truman?
I feel like I grew a lot in this process. I feel like it was a combination of things. I was working full-time in a pandemic. I was attending classes full-time in a pandemic. The Truman application process really helped me for the first time put the thoughts and dreams and aspirations that I had on paper, which I think is really incredible. And I suggest that people apply for the scholarship, if for nothing else than to do that. It's really powerful when you have to put the dreams and aspirations that are in your head on paper and then give them to someone to review. It's very, very nerve-wracking, but I feel like it really helps you cement what you want to do and helps you get on the path to arriving there.